So we all know that living in the 21st century can be quite challenging, and we all live in a fast-paced environment that can be overwhelming and stressful at times. So I'm going to take a second now and I will ask you a question. Do you feel or you ever felt so stressed, so overwhelmed, and so overtired that you simply had enough? Right, it looks like everyone's been there. I've been there too. So 7 years ago, I decided to start my own business. It was a production company called Alicja events. Is there anyone in this room who works for themselves or owns a business? So San, you can probably relate a little bit more. So anyone who owns a business or knows somebody who owns a business knows that when you start a business, especially when you start a business from scratch, it's almost like your baby. It was actually a baby to me. So I gave it 100% of my attention. I gave it all my time, everything that I had. And it was great at first. It was giving me a lot of happiness and contentment. But at some point I started realizing that something was missing. I stopped paying attention to myself. I didn't really see people around me. I forgot to have time to rest, to sleep, to entertain myself. The only focus was my company. So at some point I realized that the company was growing pretty fast and I was slowly disappearing as a person. I was overtired, overworked, overstressed, and I was getting sick a lot. At that time I actually met a friend who started to show me slowly that life is not all about work, that we can do other things. So we shared similar passion, which was travel. And so as we both worked remotely, we started traveling together, which was great, but I still had a little bit of guilt that I should have spent my time on work, building the business, instead of enjoying myself. The trip that truly changed my life was a trip to India that I took last year, and I went on the trip together with my girlfriends. And India was always tempting. I always wanted to go there, but at some point there was something about this country that was making me anxious, especially the fact that I was a little skeptical to go to a country that was ruled by the cows. I also read a lot about the dirtiness and the vaccines that I didn't really want to take, and pickpockets that were pretty common in India. So once we got to India, the cultural difference shocked me. At first, I was overwhelmed. And one word that I can truly use to describe India was intense. It was crowded, it was noisy, and it was smelly. The constant beeping never stopped. It seemed like it started at 5 a.m. and it didn't stop until 11 p.m. The pushy salespeople that tried to sell you on anything were everywhere. And of course, cows droppings all over the place. So after a couple of days, everything magically changed. Myself and my girlfriends, we attended some spiritual festivities, we went to the temples, and the outside craziness didn't seem to affect me anymore. I was able to relax, I was able to be calm. Actually, I got to the point where I stopped checking my emails, I stopped checking my text messages, and actually my computer didn't have to exist at that point. So India truly changed my life. At that point, I realized that I had wrong values, I had wrong life ideas, and it also made me realize that we live in such a civilized country like United States, where we have so much, but we always seem to want more, where majority of people in India, they have so little, but they're so content. So guess what? 3.5 weeks later, I came back to the United States, and Chicago was still here, my work was still here, the job didn't change, the only thing that changed was me. So I saw internal change, my values change. I wanted to redo and rebuild my life and started all over. Recently, I was actually browsing internet and I came across this article on NBC News website which said 5 scientifically proven benefits of traveling. And I stopped. I thought for a second and I laughed because it was a perfect example of me. So the article said that people who travel more, they're more happy, more satisfied, they don't suffer from chronic stress. They also develop creativity, they boost creativity. But one thing that really struck me about the article was last point. The last point was people who travel are less likely to develop depression. And how many of you suffer from depression or maybe know someone who suffers from depression? It seems like depression is so popular nowadays. And I had that thought inside of me, gosh, it could have been me if not that travel or the travels that I've taken. So all in all, I believe that traveling can help. Traveling helped me, and I just hope that at this point you are all thinking about your next trip and planning your future destination. Thank you.
Traveling. Cure to what else?